Sanatorium in Chapel Hill, where this afternoon North Carolina, the #1 team in the nation, puts its undefeated record on the line against a young and eager Georgia Tech club, a team challenging Carolina for the lead in the ACC. The Yellow Jackets are on the verge of breaking into all of the top 20 polls with their best start since the early 60s. Sophomore Mark Price is leading the scorers, and massive Yvonne Joseph controls the boards. The latest in a series of emotional highs came Thursday night with a conference win over the Clemson Tigers, 59-52. North Carolina is off to its best start since the 1957 championship team. They're led by All-Americans Michael Jordan and Sam Perkins, who are at the peak of their games. They led the rout of a good Wake Forest club this week, but spent much of that night on the bench as the talented Carolina reserves completed the blowout. It's Georgia Tech's Bobby Crimmins building a contender in Atlanta against Dean Smith with a dynasty in Chapel Hill. Georgia Tech against North Carolina. AC Sanatorium in Chapel Hill. A sellout as usual for the latest challenge to North Carolina's #1 ranking. Red hot Georgia Tech. Hi everybody, Mike Patrick along with Dan Bonner, and it's nice to have you with us for ACC basketball. And Dan, Georgia Tech comes in here this afternoon. They have got a shot at #1 in the ACC. For these young players, it's got to be the biggest pressure game of their lives.
It sure does, Mike. And one of the fascinating things about college basketball for the fans, and frustrating things about it for the coaches, is that you can never tell how a young team is going to react in a situation like this. They may come out and be a little bit tentative for the first couple minutes, and that could cost them, or they might come out and play out of their minds. So you really don't know.
People might be surprised around the country at how well Georgia Tech is doing, but Bobby Crimmins has put together quite a crew.
He said when he went down there, Mike, that they would need 3 or 4 good recruiting years. He's had just a couple good recruiting years, so they're well on their way.
Carolina, of course, if anybody had any doubt about them being #1 after the Wake Forest game, the way they dismantled that good ball club, there shouldn't be a doubt.
Wake Forest is certainly a talented team. They were ranked in the top 20 at the time, and deservedly so. North Carolina has so many weapons. In addition to Perkins and Jordan, they've got guys coming off the bench. They do a great job.
Dean Smith is back to that, using so many players and using them so effectively. Got to be a little demoralizing for the other team.
Certainly does. He runs players in and out. It's awfully tough.
We'll be back with the starting lineups for today's game right after this. This afternoon's game, first for visiting Georgia Tech under Bobby Crimmins, 14-2 up front. John Sally, 6'11", a sophomore, averaging almost 12 points a game. Scott Petway, a 6'6" junior college transfer out of Chicago. The man in the middle, Yvonne Joseph, 245 pounds, more than 8 rebounds a game. In the backcourt, Bruce Dalrymple, a sensational freshman from Manhattan and last year's ACC Rookie of the Year. Mark Price averaging 16.2 points a game. For undefeated North Carolina, 15-0 overall, 6-0 in the conference. Versatile Matt Doherty, 6'8", a senior from East Meadow, New York, 9 points, 4 assists a game. All-American Sam Perkins, 17.5 points, almost 10 rebounds a contest. Brad Doherty, the 6'11" sophomore center, at 10 points a game. In the backcourt, freshman playmaker Kenny Smith, 6'2.5" out of Queens, New York, and All-American Michael Jordan, 6'5", a junior from Wilmington, North Carolina. He averages 16.3 points a game and 5.3 rebounds. Georgia Tech against North Carolina, coming up from Chapel Hill after this word from Natural Light.
Dean Smith say that he probably should be listed at about 6'9". Mark Price, the team's leading scorer, although he's playing a much different role this year. 6-foot sophomore out of Enid, Oklahoma, the ACC Rookie of the Year a year ago. 16.2. He's dished out 67 assists. And Joseph, of course, 12.8 points and 8 rebounds a game. For Carolina, the leading scorer is Jordan at 16.3, the Wilmington junior. He's followed, or rather, Perkins, the Latham, New York senior, is the leading scorer at 17.6, 9.8 rebounds. Jordan at 16.3, the Wilmington junior. Kenny Smith averaging 9.7, Brad Doherty 10.3, Matt Doherty 9 points a game. Joe Forte works with Jim Rife and Mike Moser. John Sally and Sam Perkins step into the center jump circle. Georgia Tech in sort of royal blue, black uniforms with gold numerals, gold trim. Tar Heels in their traditional home white. We're ready to go. Glad you've dialed our way this gorgeous Saturday afternoon. Tech control to the backcourt to Kenny Smith. Tar Heels going to the north goal in the first half. Smith right away draws Price in the Georgia Tech defensive alignment, man-to-man. Smith from Doherty to Perkins. Jump hook over Sally. No good. Perkins trying to follow up, knocked away, and Joseph comes away with it for Georgia Tech. He drops it to Sally. The Jackets of Bobby Crimmins will work to the south goal here in the first half. Carolina likewise is open in a man-to-man. It's Kenny Smith on Mark Price. Perkins has got Sally. Doherty has Dalrymple. Petway is guarded by Jordan, and Jordan has just knocked the ball away from Petway, off Petway, out of bounds to the Carolina bench, and it belongs to the guys who wear the white. We played 30 seconds in Chapel Hill. There's no score. Later today, around the league, Virginia will be at Wake Forest. Duke at Clemson. Maryland's playing at this very moment up at South Bend against Notre Dame. Henry and all of us will work to keep you posted on how that one's going. Brad Doherty to Matt Doherty. Hands off. He's got Dalrymple all over him. Comes down to Perkins. Perkins draws the double team. Knocked away by Petway. Petway coming out on the dribble. Holds up. Waits for Mark Price. Drops it to him. He angles left. Hits Dalrymple over on the wing. Carolina's dropped back to, well, still in a man-to-man. I almost said a matchup zone, but it's man-to-man. It's Price to Petway at the right wing. No score yet in Chapel Hill. Petway looking inside for Sally. Perkins doing a good job denying him the pass. Now it's to Dalrymple in the midcourt area. Kenny Smith on him. Here's Dalrymple on the drive, trying to go to the baseline. Does now. Will try to work through. Soft jumper. Blocked. Matt Doherty. Kenny Smith comes away with a loose ball. Bobby Crimmins on his feet at the Tech bench. Smith spins away. Hits Doherty at the right wing. Now it comes to Perkins, top of the circle. Sam over to Kenny Smith. Now it goes to Brad Doherty, left of the circle. To Matt Doherty on the right. Bounce pass to Perkins. Perkins going up for the jump shot. Good. Off the right baseline. Sam Perkins makes it 2-0 in favor of the Tar Heels. Took nearly a minute and 33 seconds to get it to go home. Price against Kenny Smith. Bobby Crimmins very demonstratively talking to his offense. All the way through, stripped of the ball by Jordan. We got a travel called on Jordan immediately after he stripped Price of the ball from behind.
What you might have heard Bobby Crimmins a minute ago screaming to his team to take it easy. He wants his team to pace itself and not get into a frantic running game with Carolina. You heard him talk in the pregame about the fact that he felt like his team might have a little bit of fatigue. And now Joe Forte's coming to the bench, coming to the scorer's table.
Both coaches are standing. Nobody is. Joe Forte was talking to Dr. Jim McCoy, who runs the 45-second clock, and I think it had something maybe to do with that. A new 45 seconds has been put back on the clock, as it should, because it's Georgia Tech's ball on the possession. But neither coach was terribly alarmed about whatever the malfunction might have been. Dalrymple knocked out of bounds by Perkins and Jordan, but out off Dalrymple's knee. Dalrymple doesn't think so as he goes front court to set up defensively, but it'll be Carolina's ball on Tech's third turnover. 2-0, the Tar Heels lead it on a Sam Perkins jumper off the right baseline. Smith to Perkins, who's well out. He brings Sally all the way out with him. Yvonne Joseph working backdoor. Nice pass. Jordan to Matt Doherty. Reverse layup, no good. Joseph taps it away to Petway. Comes down to Price. Price controlling the dribble, angling across the timeline right side. Comes to the foul line. Has to pick up his dribble now. Goes to Joseph. Joseph turns, fumbled the ball, recovered. Now will turn, shoot. Partially blocked Doherty, and Jim Wright steps in to call the foul on Brad Doherty. The Black Mountain, North Carolina sophomore picks up his first, and it will be the first team foul against Carolina.
Well, I think he probably got him with his body. Maybe Woody, it might have been a clean block, but he probably maybe scrubbed up against him when they were going straight up. Scott Petway, who is a player that doesn't score a whole lot in this ball and for this club from Georgia Tech. But Woody, he's very much like Brad Doherty. He didn't play a lot against Clemson on Thursday night because Anthony Bird came in and did such a good job, and he'll probably be spelling Petway here in a few minutes, as a matter of fact. But you can watch the things he does as Joseph makes the first free throw. Woody, he's very much like Matt Doherty. He's a role player, and he does a whole lot to help this club.
Yvonne Joseph off the front of the rim with the next one. Knocked around off Dalrymple. Recovered Perkins. It's 2-1 Carolina. Now to Kenny Smith. He'll set the Carolina offense. Goes to Doherty. Deep in the corner to Perkins at the foul line. Comes left of the circle. Shoots. No good. Rebound. Pulled down by Joseph. He clears it away to Petway. Petway gives it back court to Price. 2-1 Carolina. 17-24 left to play in the first half. Here's Sally moving on Perkins. Goes baseline. Soft jumper. No good. Went long. Rebounded Dalrymple. Puts it up and in. And Georgia Tech leads by a 3-2 score on Bruce Dalrymple's bucket. Jordan down on the left side now. Petway has the defensive assignment on him. Georgia Tech now in kind of a... well, the guards seem to be playing zone. Well, for a moment I thought it was a combination defense, but it's still man-to-man. Smith's jumper missed. Tap followed by Jordan is no good. Sally's got the rebound. He clears it away with Price. Here's Price streaking down, goes all the way, bounces it away to Dalrymple, up off the glass, no good, popped out Doherty's got it for Carolina. Brad gets it away to Kenny Smith. Now to Matt Doherty in the middle. Matt driving the lane. Feeds Jordan. Layup glass. Good. Great passing by Matt Doherty going right of the lane to give it back to Michael Jordan coming in on the left. 4-3 Carolina inches back in front. 16.5 minutes left to play in the half.
That's really about the first time Michael Jordan's touched the ball. Petway and the other Tech players doing a good job denying him.
Joseph off the glass, rimmed out, wouldn't go, tapped out of bounds, and Mike Moser says it'll still be Tech's basketball. Georgia Tech here in the first half, moving to the south goal at Carmichael. Carolina going to the north goal. Bobby Crimmins moving in front of the scores table, talking to his team, using a Dean Smith sign, telling his team to think as he uses his index finger to point to his right temple. 4-3, Carolina. Petway at the right wing. Carolina now in the 1-3-1 zone. Price fires over the zone. Good. Stripped it from about 25 to 28 feet. Mark Price's first bucket. 5-4 Georgia Tech. Kenny Smith across the timeline now, just outside the center jump circle in the midcourt area. Price on him defensively. Now it goes to Perkins. Perkins comes to Brad Doherty. Now to Kenny Smith. Smith holding high on the weak side to the left to Brad Doherty. Now from Matt Doherty, we got a whistle and the fouls on Yvonne Joseph. Joseph picks up his first. It'll be the first team foul against Georgia Tech, but Brad Doherty, fouled in the act of shooting, will go to the line to shoot a pair. He shoots 71%. Henry, Yvonne Joseph, one of those real amazing stories in all of college basketball. The first basketball game he played in was less than 4 years ago, July 1980 in Haiti. He had been a shot blocker in volleyball.
I tell you what, he's a hard worker, Woody. You watch him, and he does not, there's never a wasted motion. Brad Doherty makes his first free throw, but Bruce Dalrymple is always moving under the basket. He's always trying to play good defense, and he's just a type player that continues to move and be real active under the basket, and that's why he's been successful with his little experiences he's had.
10.3 scoring average for Black Mountain, North Carolina's Brad Doherty. He makes both of his free throws. Carolina goes back in front 6-5, and now the teams are going to take a break. High school coach from Owen High School in Swannanoa. That would be Bill Burrows, who's on a leave of absence from that position and working as a part-time assistant with Bobby Crimmins.
Crimmins has got a great staff. Old friend of mine works for Bobby, Norman Felton down there. So he's got, George Felton, I'm sorry. And so he's got a lot of help down there. They're doing a great job in building that program at Tech.
6-5 the score. Carolina by 1. Georgia Tech controls. Here's Price on the handoff from Dalrymple. Working to the baseline. Jump shot. No good. Rebounded by Joseph. Joseph between Smith and Brad Doherty. Lays it up. Wouldn't go. Perkins has got the rebound, and he's fouled by Joseph. And Joseph's getting in a little bit of foul trouble with 2 here in the first 4.5 minutes of play. Those are the only team fouls that have been whistled against the Jackets.
One of Dalrymple's problems is that he doesn't give up easily on rebounds, Woody, and Bobby Crimmins was telling me before the game he does get in foul trouble a little bit like that, but he'll even steal rebounds away from his own players sometimes. That's one of his things that they're trying to work on right now.
Dalrymple or Joseph? Dalrymple?
Dalrymple, right.
Okay, Brad Doherty turns, shoots, no good. Rebounded by John Sally. Sally drops it away to Dalrymple. Dalrymple coming down on the right wing. Working down the sideline, gives it to Petway, now drops it back to Sally. Low it goes to Joseph, the man with the 2 personals on him. Joseph shot's good off the left baseline. Yvonne Joseph makes it 7-6 in favor of Georgia Tech. Across the timeline comes Kenny Smith now, wants the number 3 offense. That'll be the Tar Heel passing game. It's Brad Doherty with it out on the right wing. Comes down to Jordan. Doherty tried to cut back door. Now Jordan has to give it to him on the bounce. Here's Brad Doherty, foul line. Jumper's no good. Dalrymple, only man underneath to clear the rebound. Off to Mark Price. Georgia Tech can stretch its lead now to the biggest margin of 3 if successful on this trip down floor. Long cross-court pass back into the midcourt area to Petway. Petway moving down the sideline. Gives to Joseph. Turnaround shot off the baseline. No good. Jordan taps the rebound out, and it's controlled by Price. Price will reset the offense now as Dean Smith goes down the Carolina bench, and he wants Joe Wolf to report to the scorer's table. Dalrymple working out in the midcourt area against Jordan. Bruce Dalrymple whips it now to Price down the left sideline. 7-6 Georgia Tech. Make it, well, that shot rimmed out. I was about to say 9-6. Brad Doherty with a rebound. It's off to Kenny Smith. Smith coming top of the circle to Michael Jordan. Jump shot from out on the left. No good. Off the front of the rim. And we get a whistle, and the foul's on Yvonne Joseph for pushing off at number 3 on the Haitian creation. Joe Forte said he used his arm, and Joseph will have to come out of the game after pushing off to get the rebound. He apparently pushed Brad Doherty, and Joseph is a bit upset with himself right now and doing as all good coaches should do, realizing that, trying to help him learn from his mistakes. Bobby Crimmins has gone down and spent a lengthy bit of time talking with Joseph, not so much being critical of his play, just telling him how he can get better. Missed by Perkins, top follow, but it was basket interference. Basket interference by Perkins, take away the field goal, and it remains 7-6 Georgia Tech. The Jackets will control as Joe Wolf is in the Carolina lineup now, replacing Brad Doherty, and Steve Hale has replaced Michael Jordan.
Without Joseph in the ballgame, let's see if Georgia Tech will change their strategy a little bit and give Mark Price a little more of a green light on the outside, Woody. They have such a great offensive flow when they can move that ball down low to Joseph, but right now they may have to go more to the outside.
Price loses the ball on the dribble. It's loose on the floor. Scrapping for it, Tim Harvey and Steve Hale. Harvey has just come into the ball game to replace the foul-prone Joseph. Harvey, a 6'10 sophomore from Plainfield, New Jersey, carries 240 pounds on that frame, more like a football tight end. Now Anthony Bird from Apex, North Carolina, by way of Brevard, Florida Junior College, enters the Tech lineup, along with Craig Neal. Neal, a 6'4 freshman out of Washington, Indiana. Dalrymple and Petway come out. Bobby Crimmins told Henry before the game he had to play more players. His players were getting awfully tired. Price out of the right corner makes it 10-6 in favor, 9-6 rather, in favor of Georgia Tech. That's Price's second field goal. Hale to Smith. Georgia Tech has dropped back now in the zone. Matt Doherty at the right wing. Steve Hale top of the circle to Kenny Smith. Goes low to Joe Wolf. Back to Kenny Smith. Smith trying to get free for the jump shot. Can't do it. Will reset the offense. Back top of the circle. Goes to Joe Wolf. Wants motion off the ball to Hale. Hale gives it to Matt Doherty. Now it comes to Kenny Smith. Lobs inside to Perkins. Up. Blocked. Sally. Perkins knocked down. Helped up by Craig Neal, and for John Sally, that will be his 44th block shot of the year. He leads the Yellow Jackets in that department. Michael Jordan is back in, and Matt Doherty has gone out. 9-6 in favor of Georgia Tech. Michael Jordan gives to Smith up the left sideline in front of the Tech bench. Over to Hale. Neal almost made the steal. Hale recovers, goes to Wolf. High post. Now to Kenny Smith. Smith will move left of the circle. Foul line. Tried to bounce it inside. Ball knocked away. Finally picked up by Price. Tar Heels have now turned it over 3 times. Under 13 minutes to play in the half. It's 9-6 in favor of Georgia Tech. The Jackets have got the ball. High post to Sally. It was a double high post. Harvey and Sally almost got away. Saved by Bird left sideline. To Sally. Bounced it inside. Saved by Jordan at the baseline. 4 turnovers for Tech. Jordan comes up the left sideline. Lob pass to Wolf. Layup is good. Sally couldn't get there. I called it a lob pass. It was thrown high, but it was thrown with a great deal of velocity on it. And Joe Wolf pulls Carolina back within 1 at 9-8.
And the key to that pass is the fact that Jordan did not look at Wolf when he threw him the ball. A beautiful look-away pass.
Whistle block called on Michael Jordan by Mike Moser. In Moser's opinion, Jordan moved into his path, but Dean Smith goes down to applaud his All-America's defensive play. You'll remember, of course, Mike Moser was the gentleman who drew much of Coach Smith's displeasure on the way to the dressing room last Saturday night at Duke. Foul on Jordan is first, second team foul. Carolina in the 1-3-1 zone. Georgia Tech playing with it around the perimeter of the zone now. Bird controls at the wing to Price. Now back to Bird on the right. He comes right of the circle to Neal, who's wearing a black T-shirt underneath his jersey today. Must be bothered a little bit by a cold. Bird firing and scoring. 11-8, Georgia Tech back in front. Bird coming off one of his better games against Clemson. Hale takes it all the way the other end, missed it. Wolf tapped it, Hale came out with it. Got it to Perkins, now it's to Smith. Carolina getting a second chance at the offensive board. Here's Jordan moving baseline, jump shot. Short, but rebounded by Perkins, and he scores. I was about to say too short, but it hit the rim and rolled over the top of the basket. Perkins claimed it on the left side, put it back up and in for his second field goal. 11-10, Georgia Tech. Neither team has been able to enjoy much breathing room so far, but right now Georgia Tech's got the upper hand. Neal bounces low to Sally, and Wolf was holding him. Jim Rife makes personal foul call number 1 on the Kohler, Wisconsin freshman. Third team foul on Carolina. Right now, as Dave Popson and Brad Doherty report, the teams will get a chance to come to their respective benches for a brief rest because an official timeout's been taken at Carmichael Auditorium in Chapel Hill. Timeout on the floor, 11:21 to play in the first half. But Henry and I and all the Tar Heel Sports Network crew are spending most of it in Carmichael Auditorium, where we've got 11:21 to play here on this Saturday afternoon in the first half, and Tech's got a 1-point lead.
And if things don't pick up shooting-wise, it could be a long Saturday afternoon. Woody, 4 for 14 for the Tar Heels now. 29% from the floor. Georgia Tech not much better, 5 for 13 and 38%.
Both teams came into the game shooting well above 50%. Carolina 54-6, Georgia Tech 52-6. Georgia Tech controls a chance to go back in front by 3. It's been Georgia Tech's biggest lead thus far. Carolina in the 1-3-1 zone. Matching up now as the ball goes to the perimeter. Around the perimeter on the side, Bird had it to Price, almost knocked away, but right in the hands of Bird again. Neal now to Bird. Price coming over on the left side. Bird hands it to Neal. He'll set the offense now. Goes to Bird. Bird holds on the right side. Down in the corner to Neal. Back to Bird. Cross court to Price from 30 feet. Got him. Goodness gracious. 13-10. Carolina down by 3 and with the ball. 10:40 left to play in the first half. Kenny Smith back to the Carolina passing game now as he hands it to Brad Daugherty. Over on the left side to Steve Hale. He fell down. Travels with the ball, says Jim Wright. And the fourth turnover rather by Carolina will give the ball to Georgia Tech as Matt Daugherty replaces Kenny Smith.
Well, without Yvonne Joseph in the ball game, you'd think that Georgia Tech would try even more to control the tempo, Woody, and they're doing so. And as long as Mark Price continues to hit as good as he is right now, he's hitting them from all over the floor. Georgia Tech has a chance to stay in this ball game with Carolina.
Hobson reaching around Sally fouls him as the bounce pass comes to Sally. Henry mentioned Yvonne Joseph in case you're just dialing our way. Joseph has been on the bench for better than 3 minutes now with 3 personal fouls. The foul on Popson's is first. It'll be the 4th team foul against Carolina. Nobody has more than 1 for the Tar Heels. Bird will inbound from right in front of Joe Wolf on the Tar Heel bench. Gets it into Sally. Hands it right back to Bird. Here's Bird with a 20-foot jumper. No good. Off the glass, and it was Harvey that time going over, I believe, either Popson or Jordan's back. The foul on the Plainfield, New Jersey sophomore, his first. 4th team foul against Tech, so he's the first Tech player other than Yvonne Joseph to get called for a personal foul. 13-10, Georgia Tech in front by 3. Steve Hale running the show at the point now for the Heels. It's Hale, Popson, Brad Daugherty, Michael Jordan, and Matt Daugherty. Jordan controlling against Price, the 2 former Pan-American teammates from last summer. Matt Daugherty over to Steve Hale, jump shot, right corner, good! 13-12, Steve Hale. Boy, what a great defensive player, but what a plus his offense has been to the Tar Heels here to this midpoint of the season. 9:50 to play in the half. Sally double team. Got it to Bird. Now it's back in the middle to Harvey. He turns in the lane. Looked like he walked with it. Laid it up. No good. Popson with a rebound. Clears it away to Hale. Carolina can take the lead. It's to Michael Jordan. Down in the right corner against Anthony Bird. Breaks his dribble. Goes to Brad Daugherty. Back to Steve Hale. Hale drops it right back to Jordan. Jordan looks inside. Comes to Popson. Turnaround off the baseline. Shot short. Matt Daugherty tried to follow, and the foul's on John Sally of Georgia Tech. Sally picks up number 1. That'll be the 5th team foul against the Jackets.
Carolina needs the crowd to get to the ball game. They could use that 6-man effect a whole lot right now. It's been kind of a lackluster game so far with not a whole lot of action except for some nice long shots, Woody. But if they can get the crowd to get back into the ball game, it's going to be a big plus for the Tar Heels.
At the free throw line will be Matt Daugherty, one of the league's top 10 at that spot on the floor. He's shooting 77%. Matt comes into the ball game today, number 5 on Carolina's all-time career assist list, 385. He makes his first free throw. He stands just 9 behind George Karl, now the director of player personnel for the NBA's Cleveland Cavaliers. Next free throw is good, and it's 14-13. Carolina retakes the lead. Inbounds to Dalrymple. It'll be Dalrymple to work at front court against Matt Daugherty as Bobby Crimmins wants play number 1. Henry, you talked about the crowd, and the students are trying to get into it. Thrown to Harvey. Overthrown. Harvey can't save it. Carolina gets the ball on Tech's 5th turnover as Kenny Smith will return to the Carolina lineup now, replacing Steve Hale.
That'll get him back in the ball game, Woody. Early score, Notre Dame leading Maryland 10-5. Looks like the Fighting Irish, after having a tough time with Davidson, ready to play against Maryland this afternoon.
They're about midway through the first half at South Bend, 14-13. Smith, top of the circle, gets it over now to Perkins. Perkins holding behind his head, comes now to Matt Daugherty. Backdoor Jordan, deflected Dalrymple, and it belongs to Carolina. Joe Forte almost pointed Georgia Tech's way, but the ball went out of bounds off Dalrymple, even though he made a great deflection of the basketball. Crimmins again talking to his team defensively now as Matt Daugherty controls right in front of the Tech bench to Jordan, to Kenny Smith, to Perkins. Back it comes to Smith, to Jordan. Jordan will drive left of the lane, stops, shoots, partially deflected, recovered Brad Daugherty to Smith. Now to Matt Daugherty. Matt Daugherty dumps low to Perkins, lays it up off the glass, no good. Jordan's got it. He'll follow, scores. Rat-a-tat-tat, tat-tat-tat. Off the offensive board. 16-3. Well, the Heels were beating that offensive board like a kettle drum. 8.5 minutes left to play in the half. Here's the jump shot by Dalrymple. No no good. Went in, came back out. Perkins off to Smith. Heels on the run. Matt Doherty on the right. He'll use the glass. No good. Jordan tried to follow. Got a whistle and a foul. And it's on John Sally of Georgia Tech, I believe. Joe Forte coming off the baseline on the call. Yes. Credit it to the Spider-Man, the 6'11 sophomore out of Brooklyn, New York. It'll be his second, the team's sixth. Carolina will get the ball, I believe. Will there be free throw shot? Yes, I think Jordan's going to shoot free throws. Bobby Crimmins doesn't quite agree. Doherty went up with it first. Brad Doherty tried to follow, and that's when the foul came. 2 shots are coming. Buzz Peterson's coming into the Tar Heel lineup along with Cecil Exum. Peterson, a junior out of Asheville. Exum is a senior from out of Dudley, North Carolina. Nope, Buzz will have to wait. He's coming for Michael, and Jordan's at the foul line. Great to have Buzz back. He missed the Wednesday night game against Wake Forest, had to go up to his native Asheville because of an aunt. Seriously ill, but was back on Thursday. Free throw is no good by Jordan. Michael shoots 78% at the line. He starts today's game, Carolina's 13th all-time leading career scorer, 1,384 points. Next free throw is good. Michael's got 5. He'll come out. Now Peterson will come in. Jordan, of course, is after Dennis Weissig, who's 36 points ahead of him. Henry?
Carolina with a 7-point run right now. It's been about 2.5 minutes since Georgia Tech scored. During that time, Carolina's run 7 points on them.
Neal lost the ball. Recovered Exum. Off the back of Brad Doherty, picked up by Kenny Smith. Kenny top of the circle. Now to Sam Perkins passes inside Brad Doherty. Turn, tried to shoot, and it was knocked away. Mark Price, and Mike Moser says it went out of bounds off Carolina, so it will be Georgia Tech's ball. 5 turnovers now for Carolina. Heels have got Smith, Peterson, Exum, Brad Doherty, and Sam Perkins in the lineup. Georgia Tech works with Price, Sally, Harvey, Dalrymple, and Neal. Dalrymple at the right wing. Gets by Exum. Now whips it to Harvey at the high post. To Neal. Jump shot over Peterson. Good. Craig Neal. 17-15. Carolina's lead is 2. 7:40 to go in the first half. Dale Brown, the head coach of LSU, will be with Henry at halftime, we hope. And also, remember this guy? Phil Ford of the Houston Rockets. Cecil Exum, foul line. Kenny Smith goes inside to Perkins. Perkins dribbles baseline, and Mike Moser says he dribbled it. No, he's called for help. Just a second. Mike Moser misinterpreted where the out-of-bounds line was. Mike Moser is called. Bobby Crimmins and Dean Smith up to the bench. Now, Henry, quite honestly, I like to see that in official. He realized that he had made a mistake. Now, what happens with the Carolina lane? It is blue paint going to within about 6 inches of the baseline, the Carolina blue paint. Then there is a little void where the baseline comes by, and Mike Moser is now telling Sam Perkins of goal. And it'll be Kenny Smith to trigger the inbounds play. Henry's got some shooting stats. We'll get them for you on the next dead ball. Here's Perkins, back to Doherty on the left side. Comes now to Smith, top of the circle. Georgia Tech now working in a zone. Comes to Matt Doherty. Jordan penetrates the zone, shoots and scores, and it's 19-15. Those shooting stats, Henry.
Okay, Carolina with 2 of 10 to begin the ball game. They had a stretch of hit 3 of 5, and now they've hit 2 of the last 7 shots, Woody. Carolina shooting just over 30% right now.
Carolina back with its original starting lineup. Harvey from Price on the left side. Back it comes to Price, the ACC Rookie of the Year from 1983, handling the ball to Dalrymple. Certainly a standout, one of the league's top standout freshmen. To Harvey, right of the lane. Knocked away Jordan. It'll be Carolina's ball. Carolina fans sitting in the south end zone thought that ball went out of bounds off of Dalrymple, I believe, or Harvey, rather. It's going to be Georgia Tech out of bounds. The Price has gone down to whisper something in Dalrymple's ear on the inbounds play.
You were talking about offensive rebounds. Well, Georgia Tech led that category early, Woody, but now Carolina has 6 and Georgia Tech only with 4.
Dalrymple to Price. Comes right to the lane. Put it up. Blocked. Doherty. That's knocked away. Recovered Doherty. 3-on-2 break. Matt Doherty coming down on the left. Kenny Smith left open. 20 feet. Bottom. Kenny Smith bombs away from the left baseline. 21-15. Carolina's out to a 6-point lead. Crowd can relax a little bit. That's why everybody's getting back into the game now. Although the students did get into it when Carolina needed a little help a moment ago on defense. High lob pass to Sally. Knocked away. Controls Sally. Right of the lane. Fakes. Bounce pass to Neal. Jump shot. 20 feet. Good. 21-17. Craig Neal's got his second field goal. The freshman out of Washington, Indiana. 21-17 to Matt Doherty. Down in the right corner to Perkins. Perkins fakes a return pass. Now hits Kenny Smith. Gets it right back. Knocked away Harvey. Picked up Price. Here comes Tech on the run. 6 turnovers away to Dalrymple. Layup good. 21-19. Dalrymple's got a couple of field goals. 5:50 to play in the first half. Across the timeline comes Kenny Smith. Tar Heels working to the north goal in the first half. Smith across the top of the circle. Now gives it up to Michael Jordan. Jordan comes back to Kenny Smith. Smith left, goes inside to Perkins. Perkins with Harvey behind him, hits Kenny Smith from 20 feet. Count it. Kenny Smith with 2 field goals, 23-19. He's gotten the Tar Heels' last 2, I believe. 23-19, Carolina by 4. Mark Price wants the number 1 Georgia Tech offense. Price works against Kenny Smith. Heels in man-to-man. They're running the 1-4 alignment now. The 4 across the foul line. Wide open. Sally got free for the dunk. Defensive mistake by the Tar Heels left Sally wide open for his first field goal. Scott Petway will return to the Georgia Tech lineup now, replacing Tim Harvey. And in essence, Georgia Tech will work with 3 guards. They're going to move Dalrymple, I believe, over to the big forward and Neal to the small forward with Petway and Price out front. 23-21, 5:09 to play in the half. Thompson is in. Perkins is out for Carolina. Thompson, the freshman from Ashley, Pennsylvania, sets up at the high post on the right. Doherty at the left wing. Matt Doherty off the baseline. Good. 23-25-21 runner. 4 points now for the East Meadow, New York senior. Mark Price is picked up by Kenny Smith in the backcourt. Price backing across the timeline now at midcourt. Still on Smith, now down inside the hash mark on the right in front of the Tar Heel bench. Comes back to the wing, picks up his dribble, goes to Petway. Petway works against the taller Dave Hobson. Trying to find room between the double team, hits Neal, gets free. Matt Doherty drives, feeds Sally, one-handed dunk. Georgia Tech doing an excellent job against Carolina's zone defense. 25-23, 4:25 left to play. Here comes Smith, intended for Doherty, knocked away by John Sally. It'll still be Carolina's ball right in front of the Tech bench.
Craig Neal has given this team a little offensive lift, hitting a couple of shots and also dishing off for some good points. They call him Noodles, Woody, because they say he's only got enough skin to hold his bones together. He's such kind of a lanky fella.
Kenny Smith to Brad Doherty, now to Matt Doherty. Now it goes to Michael Jordan. Turnaround off the right baseline. Rimmed out. Thompson on the foul. 27-23, David Thompson. 4:10 left to play in the first half. Price behind the back dribble, lost. Kenny Smith was on him. Bobby Crimmins says, Mark, settle down. And before he could finish the settle down, Price said, Coach, I know. 27-23, 7 turnovers for the Jackets. Kenny Smith on the double dribble, and that will turn it over. Smith was looking inside, trying to find the open man, and turned it over. 7 turnovers for Carolina. Price from Dalrymple and underhands it to Neal. It'll be Neal across the timeline against Jordan. Now to Price with Kenny Smith still on him. Goes low to Sally. Brad Doherty behind him. Sally caught up in the double team with Smith. Now to Price. He'll come off the left sideline to Neal. Now they swing it right side to Dalrymple. Dalrymple looking inside for Petway, and we get Dave Hobson holding Petway. Hobson picks up his 2nd personal foul. It will be only the 5th team foul against the Tar Heels. So Georgia Tech will get the ball out of bounds. Right now, an official timeout called in Carmichael Auditorium. So a timeout on the floor. 3:42 left to play in the first half. The score, Carolina 27, Georgia Tech.
Like home-style white beef.
Woody Durham with Henry Hinton at Carmichael Auditorium in Chapel Hill. 3:42 left to play in the first half, and the Heels have got a 4-point advantage at 27-23.
Well, now the Tar Heels shooting stats have picked up. They've hit their best stretch of the ball game. They hit 6 of the last 8 shots, Woody, and that brings them up over 40%. 11 for 27, 41%. Georgia Tech also doing a little bit better. They have hit their last 4 in a row. 11 for 23, 48%. So the shooting heating up a little bit here in this game.
Georgia Tech controls the basketball. It'll be Dalrymple making the inbounds play at the baseline. Dalrymple looking for help. Bounced it into Price. Ball knocked away. Price recovered. Caught in the double team to Sally now. Way to Neal. Jump shot 20 feet. No good. Rebounded by Perkins. He and Smith were both there. 27-23. Cross court to Matt Doherty. Doherty comes left of the circle to Perkins from 20 feet. Count it. Perkins with 6. 29-23. Heels match their biggest advantage in the first half. Price against Kenny Smith across the timeline now. Breaks his dribble. Comes high post to Sally. Top of the circle. Away to Dalrymple. Jordan won't let him through. Back to Price from 30 feet. Count it. Mark Price. Boy, he's tossed in 4 bombs here in the first half. 29-25. The Tar Heel lead is 4. Just over 3 minutes to play in the half. Bobby Crimmins and now assistant George Felton are up off the Yellow Jacket bench as Joe Wolf handles for Carolina, top of the circle to Smith, now to Doherty. Comes over to Michael Jordan. Jordan faking a shot from out of the right corner to Smith. Smith at the foul line, back to Perkins. Perkins looked to Jordan behind him. Sam will take the jumper, good. Sam Perkins makes it 31-25 with his 8th point of the half. He's got 8, Jordan's got 7. They lead the Carolina scoring. Mark Price with 8 is high man for Tech. Dalrymple at the right wing to Price. Cross court to Neal. Straddle the hash mark on the left sideline. Neal will go down the sideline now, all the way into the left corner. Double team is there. Jordan knocked down. No whistle on the play. Here's Dalrymple. Jump shot over Matt Doherty. Good. Bruce Dalrymple with his 6th point. 31-27. 2:20 to go. Jordan coming the other way. Spinning in the lane. That's the wide open Matt Doherty for the layup. Holy smokes. Jordan was triple teamed. Found Matt Doherty through all the traffic. Dumped it to him for an uncontested layup from the right. 33-27. Price across the timeline on the left side. Works inside the hash mark. Bounce pass to a wide open Craig. Blocked Jordan from behind. Rebounded by Petway on the right off the glass. Scott Petway has got his first field goal. 33-29. What a pretty good first half of basketball. Both these teams are playing. Wolf away to Doherty now on the left side. Goes low to Perkins. Jump hook off the left baseline. Tap followed by Wolf is no good. Tap by Perkins, no good. Tap by Wolf, good. No basket. Wright says there was basket interference. 33-29. Dean Smith is a man in disbelief at the moment.
Bobby Crimmins and his staff working over the young official Mark Moser down there too, Woody, because he didn't make the call. They were saying it was his call, and they were really jumping on him down there, even after the other official, Wright, had made it.
Neal working along the left sideline now for Georgia Tech. Puts it to Dalrymple. 33-29. 90 seconds to play in the half. Dalrymple in the midcourt area. Carolina man-to-man. A whistle and a foul off the ball called on Sam Perkins. Perkins apparently holding Sally off the ball, or at least in Joe Forte's mind. And so it'll be the first foul against Perkins, the 6th team foul against Carolina. So Georgia Tech will get the ball out of bounds at the baseline. Crimmins took a moment to talk to Mark Price in front of the scorer's table. It'll be Dalrymple to trigger the inbounds play. Looking, gets it out front to Neal. Neal bumps him, and that's the 7th team foul. It'll be 1-1 for Craig Neal. Henry told you a moment ago that Neal, who'll go to the line to shoot 1-1, is called Noodles, the 6'4 freshman out of Washington, Indiana. One of the reasons he's also called that, in addition to the fact he has such a lanky figure, is because when he's coming at you, all you see are arms and legs as he gets to you. He's a very frail young man, but quite a ball player. His dad was a coach, and interestingly enough, he was picked by the coaches in Indiana on the first-team All-State basketball team. Media had him on the 2nd team All-State. Neal's first free throw is good for his 5th point, but that shows you what high respect the coaches have for him. 33-30 could cut the Tech deficit to 2 and does. 33-31.
Very smart ball player, too. Bobby Crimmins thinks he's a heady player, and that's why he's playing as much as he is as a freshman, Woody. Great player.
Georgia Tech down 6, back within 2. Heels trying to run it back to 4. Alley-oop to Perkins. Forced it off the glass. No good. Georgia Tech now can tie. Here's Dalrymple across the timeline. Crimmins looking at the clock, wants the number 1 offense. Boy, Bobby constantly stays out of his chair working. Always in his bench area, but working. Dalrymple running the baseline now as Price controls the ball along the right sideline.
Crimmins back out for one shot.
Petway.
Sorry, Woody. Crimmins is calling for one shot down there.
I couldn't tell for a moment with 1:08 to play where it was one shot or his number 1 offense. Here it comes to Petway. Petway's up with a shot. No good. Rebounded by Brad Doherty. Long lead pass to Kenny Smith. He runs it down. Had to save it, though, to Craig Neal of Georgia Tech. 35 seconds to play. 8 turnovers for Carolina. Price out of the left corner. No good. Perkins with a rebound. Whistle. Foul is on Tim Harvey of Georgia Tech. Boy, Perkins crashed the board. Harvey at 6'40", 240, 6'10". I'd like to see a guy play weight 6'40". 6'10", 240. Went to the boards with him and drew his 2nd personal. It'll be the 7th team foul, and so with 27 seconds left in the half, Perkins will go to the line. The Tar Heels got a little over-anxious a while ago. The outlet by Brad Doherty from that high holding position with the ball had too much zip on it. Thrown out of Kenny Smith's reach, although he did get to it, but he couldn't control it when he got there. Violation against Perkins. Perkins faked like he was going to shoot. It didn't feel comfortable. He started up with it. The ball will be turned over to Georgia Tech. Brand new rule this year. You cannot fake as if you're going to shoot and then not shoot, because what it caused was the opposing. Now, the Carolina crowd doesn't like it, but it was the right call. Sam didn't feel comfortable with it, but he gave every motion like he was going to shoot, and he was going to pull it down. And both of Georgia Tech's outside people came into the lane. Dalrymple down the right side, 33-31. 13 seconds to play in the half. He gives it up to Neal. Double team. Back to Dalrymple with 7, 6. Dalrymple at the foul line. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Dalrymple fires. Perkins blocked it, and we get the half. Dalrymple wasted too much time circling back out front. Got down, then had to force the shot, and when he did, Perkins, with 29 blocked shots coming into this game, rejected it. So the Tar Heels keep their 2-point lead going to the dressing room.
The number 1 ranked Tar Heels lead Georgia Tech 33-31. As a halftime special, we put together some outstanding highlights from the past 2 years of ACC basketball. Let's take a look.
For the past 2 seasons, Raycom Sports and Jefferson Pilot Teleproductions have brought you the finest in college basketball. Here's a look back at some of that ACC magic. We took you to Chapel Hill, where Lefty Driesell in Maryland came within inches of the upset.
Let's reset the stage for you. It's North Carolina 72, Maryland 71. The Terps with the basketball, 5 seconds left. Adkins to Chuck Driesell. Driesell drives the baseline. It's blocked. Ball's out of bounds. There is no time left. Points apart at halftime. Stay tuned as we'll continue after this halftime at Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Number 1 over a team hoping to break into the top 20. Now we want to look at Karen Schulman, the Feebors, and we're almost set to go with what should be a great second half of basketball. First half, Carolina over Georgia Tech by 2. We'll be back with the second half after this word. Great first half. Carolina holding a 2-point edge on the Yellow Jackets of Bobby Crimmins. Maryland playing out of conference this afternoon with their annual shootout against Notre Dame, and the 5th-ranked Terrapins having a little more trouble than you might expect over Digger Phelps and company, 26-25 at the half. But Maryland's got the firepower to go with anybody, Dan.
They certainly do. That score at the half, 1-point difference, really is a surprise. But Maryland, as you say, they can really come on in the second half.
Let's take a look at our Hardee's halftime statistics, and you see neither club shooting up to the kind of statistics it has on the year, but I think you can attribute a lot of that to defense, Dan.
I think you can. Both clubs, it's interesting, are shooting. In other words, North Carolina about 45%. That's about what Georgia Tech limits its opponents to. And Georgia Tech there at 44%. That's about what North Carolina limits its opponents to. So it is a very good defensive effort on the part of both squads.
Free throws not much of a factor, only 10 for the 2 teams combined. And in the rebounding department,
that's a little bit of a deceptive statistic. Georgia Tech has throughout the first half done an excellent job on the boards. There have been a couple occasions where North Carolina has gotten 3 or 4 shots at it, but they have been very, very few. In fact, I only think of 2. As you get a look at the scoring here, Price leading the way with 8 points, Dalrymple with 6, Neal with 6, Sally with 4, and Joseph didn't play very much. 3 fouls. That's probably the biggest stat you can see.
Defense, Georgia Tech with a .756 points per possession in the first half, but Carolina's offense was only .717, and Dean Smith would like for it to be up around 8-5. Tar Heels get the ball, and the second half underway, 33-31. Tar Heels lead it. Perkins handling left of the circle as the Heels in white go to the south goal. Jordan off the left, no good. Sally with the rebound for Georgia Tech. He drops it away to Petway. Now it's off to Price. Georgia Tech in royal blue, darker blue, almost a black blue, if you will. Gold numerals, gold trim. Controlling at the north end of Carmichael. It's Petway moving down the right sideline. Bounces to Price. Jump shot. Doherty got a hand on it, but it still went in. Mark Price with 10 points leads the Georgia Tech scoring. And it's tied at 33. Kenny Smith to Brad Doherty. Looking inside for Jordan. Bounces at the ball right of the lane. Dalrymple playing behind him. Comes back out front now to Kenny Smith. Smith now moving to the left of the circle. Spins, comes back to the right. Across the top of the circle against Mark Price in Tech's man-to-man. Jordan. Brad Doherty trying the back door. Kenny Smith now low to Brad Doherty. Off the glass. Rimmed out. Wouldn't go. Rebound pulled down by Yvonne Joseph. He was on the bench nearly 14 minutes in the first half with 3 personal fouls. 33-33 the score. Georgia Tech with a chance to retake the lead. You remember Carolina led in the first half by as many as 6. I believe the biggest Georgia Tech lead was 3. Sally on the drive through the double team. We get a whistle, and a blocking foul is called on Sam Perkins. It will be his second personal, the first team foul. 18:41 left to play in the ball game. John Sally coming over to the Tech bench for a word with head coach Bobby Crimmins. In 6 years at Appalachian State, his teams won 100 games, lost 70. He was the Southern Conference Coach of the Year 3 times. He's already been given that honor in the ACC just a year ago. 33-33. Georgia Tech controlling, spreading its offense out a bit. Carolina locked into a man-to-man. Kenny Smith on Mark Price. Michael Jordan's got Petway. Petway's got the ball, right corner. Fakes Doherty, helping out on the double team. Cross-court, it comes to Price on the left side. Goes down low and out of Sally. Sally turns, makes Brad Doherty up for the shot. Offensive foul, John Sally. Brad Doherty, who did a terrific job on Wednesday night against Kenny Green. That time drawing the 3rd personal foul of John Sally and the first team foul against Georgia Tech in the first half. 33 all, the score tied. Kenny Smith from Sam Perkins, and the Queens, New York freshman will get the ball front court. Gives it to Brad Doherty at the left wing. Comes down to Sam Perkins, off to Kenny Smith. Goes low to Doherty. Back to Smith. Jump shot, 20 feet, good. Kenny Smith with 6 points. He's gone 3 of 4 here in today's game. 35-33 Carolina. 18 minutes exactly left to play as Price crosses the timeline. Now to Petway at the left wing. Double team is there. Carolina scrambled. Cross court to Dalrymple. Jump shot over Brad Doherty. No good. Doherty captures the rebound on the right. Gets it to Smith. Smith will fill the lane on the break to Matt Doherty. Now to Michael Jordan. Tech defense got back very well. Here's Brad Doherty at the foul line. Yvonne Joseph on him to Smith. Now to Sam Perkins. That ball would have been thrown away everybody else, but it was caught by Perkins. Tapped Jordan. Couldn't control it. Lost finally. Sally recovers. He double dribble, but there's a foul called on Carolina's Brad Doherty. Joe Forte whistles the foul on Brad Doherty for pushing off. Doherty says, who, me? He can't believe the call.
Michael Jordan thought the foul was going to be on him, Woody, but there was a double dribble down underneath the basket, but I think the foul probably occurred just before that happened.
It did indeed. I was expecting the whistle to be for the double dribble, and then suddenly Joe Forte points to the middle against Brad Doherty. 35-33 Carolina. Double team of Dalrymple to Petway, right corner to Price. Baseline, back to Petway. Bounce pass to Dalrymple. He'll drive right of the lane. Shots up. Blocked away by Perkins. Recovered Matt Doherty. Lead pass to Jordan. Bounce pass through traffic to Smith. He didn't go all the way through, so the pass was thrown out of bounds, and it'll be Georgia Tech's ball on the turnover.
I think Kenny Smith was trying to set himself up there. I think he believed that Michael was going to take it onto the hoop, and Kenny might have been thinking rebound rather than going straight at the hoop, and that is why Michael led him just a little bit too much, Woody.
They communicate very briefly at the timeline, going back on defense. Matt Doherty knocks it away. We get a whistle and a foul on... No foul. I thought Joe Forte for a moment had whistled a foul on Mark Price. He was simply pointing Georgia Tech's ball. Matt Doherty knocking it away. Craig Neal will start back to the Georgia Tech lineup. He was going in. Bobby Crimmins wanted to make sure he reported. He does. Bruce Dalrymple will come out. Inbounds, Petway to Joseph. Now to Sally. Jordan's all over him. Perkins is there on the double team. Bounced it through the double team to Petway. 35-33 Carolina. 16:45 to play. Neal in the center jump circle. Now to Petway. Georgia Tech spreading its offense out. In turn, spreading Carolina's man-to-man out. Sally in the midcourt area to Price. Price bounces it to Joseph for the dunk. Score tied. 35 all. Joseph's 5th point. 16 and a half minutes left to play in the ball game. Believe me, Georgia Tech, if you don't already think so, is for real. Kenny Smith, top of the circle. Now to Sam Perkins, right wing. Jordan holding high on the left. Now comes cross court to Kenny Smith. We get a whistle and the foul called on Carolina. It's on Matt Doherty, says Jim Wright. The foul on Doherty will be his third team foul against Carolina. That's going to be his second. I had it down for only his first, but well, they're saying he's gotten both of them here in the second half. Maybe he got the foul a moment ago and Brad Doherty didn't. That might have been what the reason Matt Doherty's got 2. We had Brad Doherty with 2 and Matt Doherty with only 1. Joseph faking left the lane, and he traveled with it, says Joe Forte. The ball will go to Carolina on the turnover, but right now an official timeout will be called, and both teams will come to their respective benches to catch their breath.
For 3, as you mentioned, when he only hitting 1 field goal. Georgia Tech 2 for 4. Both teams with 2 turnovers in the second half.
Smith, top of the circle to Perkins. Back it comes to Smith, to Matt Doherty. Dalrymple fighting through the screen to get to him, to Jordan, now to Smith. Now it goes over to Michael Jordan. Jordan comes cross court to Doherty on the right, to Kenny Smith. Now to Michael Jordan. Jordan's free for the 10-foot jumpers off the front of the rim, no good. Joseph's got the rebound. 35-35. Georgia Tech now with a chance to take the lead. Mark Price against Kenny Smith across the timeline in the midcourt area. Comes to Neal on the left. Neal past the standing Bobby Crimmins down the left sideline. Now goes with the alley-oop. It hit the front of the goal. Intended for Sally. Intercepted by Smith. Off to Michael Jordan. Missed the dunk. Rebound at Georgia Tech. Off to Price. Now to Sally. Now comes to Dalrymple. Here's Sally, left of the lane, can't get through to Price. Price will drive the baseline, tried to feed it back, blocked by Jordan, recovered Sally. Now to Price, bounces to Joseph, left of the circle. Now it comes to Neal. Neal resets the offense in the midcourt area. Carmichael Auditorium crowd couldn't believe it. Jordan got by, went in for the dunk, it rattled in and came out. Neal breaks free baseline to give Georgia Tech the lead at 37-35 with his 8th point of the ball game. He came in averaging 5 a game. 14:40 to play. 37-35. High alley-oop to Jordan. He came down, goes back, misses it, but the foul's on Dalrymple. His first second-team foul against Georgia Tech. Jordan fouled in the act of shooting. No, he didn't. He was fouled when he came down, so it'll be Carolina's ball at the baseline. You've heard me refer today to Bruce Dalrymple. When Dalrymple was going to the St. Johnsbury, Vermont Academy, he was called Henry, but Bruce is the name his mother gave him, and that's what he wants to be called in college. High lob to Brad Doherty, knocked away, and the foul has been called, I believe, on Yvonne Joseph. Mike Moser coming out on the call, and it'll be Joseph's 4th. He and Sally were jumping up to stop the inside pass intended for Brad Doherty. That will be number 4 on Joseph, the Haiti junior. Coming with 14:28 left to play, and Bobby Crimmins will have to rest him a while and come back with Tim Harvey, the 6'10", 240 sophomore from Plainfield, New Jersey. 37-35, Georgia Tech. 14:28 to play. Smith will inbound from the baseline. High lob to Brad Doherty. Came down, goes back, shoots, won't go. Perkins had it, lost it to Sally. Craig Neal. Now to Price. Price is across the timeline. 37-35, inside the hash mark comes Price. He'll come baseline against Smith. Now circles back out, cross court to Neal. Open, 20-foot jumper. He'll use the glass. No good. Jordan's got the rebound. Coming on the run, down on the left. Lost the ball off his knee. Ball loose. Went out of bounds. It went out off Georgia Tech. Dalrymple.
Brad Doherty having a little bit of tough time today, Woody. He is 0 for 4 in the ball game, and, you know, he has been up and down as far as his offensive point totals are concerned. He didn't even shoot any from the field in the Duke game. Then he had a good game against Wake. Right now, Brad probably getting a little bit frustrating. I'm sure would like to probably get some points on the board.
Henry, he's had some off-court publicity in the last day or so that was not very good for him, and I think he thinks he was not wrong in the situation, but nevertheless, it'll be decided in some action, I think, sometime next week. But anyway, there's a whistle, and a foul has been called on Matt Doherty. So that's his 3rd personal foul, coming with 13:55. Now they're saying only his 2nd. They say Matt Doherty? I thought so. So now they're showing only 2. Anyway, that's the 4th team foul. So maybe we were right earlier. Now they've corrected themselves. Dalrymple to Neal. Low, it goes to Harvey. Harvey turns. We've got a whistle. Fouls on Kenny Smith, says Joe Forte. Reaching in front of the double team. Brad Doherty was behind it. First personal foul on Smith. It'll be the 5th team foul against Carolina. Georgia Tech will get the ball out of bounds at the north baseline. 37-35, 13:41 left to play in the ball game. Carolina unbeaten at ACC play. Georgia Tech with 1 loss. John Sally, no good. Hale, who's in the game, has got the rebound. Clears it away to Kenny Smith. Smith will fill the lane. Foul line to Brad Doherty. Cross court to Hale. Open 20 feet. Fakes Price. Jumpers up. Good. Steve Hale. 37-all. Couple of Oklahoma's best. Steve Hale thinking Mark Price knocking in his 2nd field goal of the day. 13-15. The crowd now trying to get in it for Carolina. Dalrymple for Price at the left wing. Now to Sally. It's off to Price. Price, long outside jumper. No good. Doherty with a rebound. Neal reaching in from behind. Couldn't knock it away to Kenny Smith. Heels with a chance to lead. Matt Doherty on the right. Back to Kenny Smith. Low to Perkins. Free. Layup good. It was Kenny Smith who pumped the air with his fist when they fed the ball to Sam Perkins. Crowd coming to its feet. Oh, they looked awfully scared a moment ago, but the crowd is not so tentative now. Timeout on the floor. 12:54.
Waynesville, Inca, and Brevard.
This broadcast is authorized under rights of the Tar Heel Sports Network through WCHL in Chapel Hill solely for the entertainment of our listening audience. Any publication, rebroadcast, or other use of the description and account of this game without the express written consent of the Tar Heel Sports Network and WCHL Radio is prohibited. Woody, Carolina only 3 for 9, 33%, but they're picking up the pace a little bit right now. Tech 3 for 8, 38%. When Joseph went out in the first half, Georgia Tech got a little more control on their mind and tried to control the ball out front some. Let's see what happens now that he's got his fourth foul.
Georgia Tech in possession of the basketball. Joseph back in the lineup for Georgia Tech. Price controlling against Kenny Smith. Carolina man-to-man. Price on the drive. Caught the double team. Puts it to the wide-open Dalrymple for the layup. Boy, Georgia Tech is doing a good job against Carolina's defense as the Tar Heels, as usual, are constantly changing zone, man-to-man, and variations thereof. Knotted at 39, 12 and a half minutes to play. Kenny Smith on the left side. Holds high, goes low now to Brad Daugherty. Daugherty holding at the left baseline to Kenny Smith. Over to Steve Hale. Low to Perkins. Ball knocked away, and it'll belong to Georgia Tech. Mike Moser says it went out of bounds off Sam Perkins, so it'll be Georgia Tech's ball on Carolina's third turnover. That foul situation we were trying to clear up a moment ago is Matt Daugherty has got 2 fouls. Brad Daugherty has got 1. 39-39, score tied. Dalrymple inbounds the ball to Price. Carolina with pressure on in the backcourt. Not real tight, sticky pressure, but just enough so that Georgia Tech knows it's there. The double team on Price. Long cross-court pass to Joseph. Joseph holding it one hand. The Dalrymple. Nice jumping catch at the right baseline. He'll have to bring it back to the midcourt area to reset the Tech offense. 12 minutes left to play in the ball game. It's tied at 39. Georgia Tech working to the right sideline. Dalrymple to Sally. Sally looking inside. Perkins on him. Hands it off to Price. Hale is on Mark Price. That's Jinx, Oklahoma, guarding Enid, Oklahoma. Price banks it off the glass. No good. And Joseph is gone. He reached in. Jim Wright was about to blow the whistle on Yvonne Joseph for his 5th personal foul. He blew it for his 5th personal foul. He was about to whistle in for the technical. And Joe Forte says, no, don't blow it. Joseph was upset. He went to the bench. And again, I greatly respect Bobby Crimmins. He went right to him to get down in front of him to tell him. And now, part-time assistant Bill Burrows has gone over to talk to him. Joseph is fouled out of the ball game. Joseph upset because he didn't think it was a very, I think he probably thought it should have been a no-call situation. And for Joseph, that's the 3rd game he's fouled out of the season. He leaves with 11 minutes and 42 seconds left to play in the ball game. Carolina will have the ball. Well, it was interesting to see Bobby Crimmins. I think Crimmins was probably more upset with his player, Dalrymple, rather Joseph, than he was with the officials for calling the foul. And he came over and immediately really got down in front of him, as you say, and was kind of upset with him. I know that with the score tied 39-39, a technical foul on top of that Joseph fouling out of the ball game, that could have been a big swing for Carolina momentum-wise. He hasn't gotten to play very much today. Carolina's gotten control of the basketball now with the score tied. Perkins away to Kenny Smith to Steve Hale, right baseline. Inside to Joe Wolf, back to Kenny Smith. Smith at the foul line, drops it off to Jordan. He'll come left baseline. Jumper, good. Foul on the play against Georgia Tech. I believe it's on Sally, yes. John Sally of Georgia Tech commits his 4th. So the Georgia Tech front line's in trouble with its 5th team foul. Jordan will have a chance for the first 3-point play of the afternoon. He has 9 points. Carolina's got a 41-39 lead. The Wilmington, North Carolina junior to the line, averaging 16 points a game, 5 rebounds. He's also got 27 assists, 20 steals coming into the ball game. 41-39. There have been situations like that this year where Jordan just made that jump shot. Tim Harvey's coming in now to replace John Sally. There have been situations here that Jordan just made that jump shot this year. You'll recall the game at Duke last Saturday night in which Jordan has stages of when he literally takes over a game. 10 points now for Jordan. He makes the free throw, 42-39. We'll see if that might be one of these moments. Price working against Hale. Cross-court, throw it away. Intended for Dalrymple. Credit Steve Hale. Steve Hale had the defense on him in the backcourt, caused him to throw it away. Tech's 4th turnover. 42-39. Carolina with a chance to run its lead to 5. Back to Smith from Perkins. Now to Jordan. Michael driving left of the lane. Beats Perkins. Perkins coming off the left baseline. No good. Tapped around. Joe Wolf controlling, and they whistle him for the foul. He was bumping Dalrymple coming away on the rebound. And, you know, Dalrymple at 6'3", we talked about what great position he gets. Henry, it's amazing. The guys in there battling the trees, going for the ball almost every time it's on the glass.
He's a good athlete. Officially, Joseph played a total of only 13 minutes in the ball game, Woody. And, you know, another situation right now for Georgia Tech, potentially dangerous unless it changes. Mark Price not playing particularly well here in the second half. He's only hit one basket, and that turnover just a moment ago may affect him as well. And he tried to quiet the Carolina crowd with a bomb just now and was not able to do it. So Mark Price needs to get back in this game for the Yellow Jackets.
Neal controlling midcourt area against Jordan. Goes high post to Harvey. Harvey at the foul line. Whips it away to Price on the right wing. Goes low now to Sally, who's back in the ballgame. Sally through the double team. Whips it back to Price. Out of the right corner. Got it. Mark Price with 12 points. Leads the Tech scoring. 42-41. Carolina by 1. Smith to Doherty, to Brad Doherty, to Perkins. Ball lost, recovered as it was kicked away by Price by Matt Doherty. Kenny Smith to Perkins, back it comes to Smith. Now to Jordan, over to Matt Doherty, right of the circle to Brad Doherty. Tried to go back to Matt Doherty, threw the ball away. Kenny Smith makes the save. Caught the double team near the timeline to Matt Doherty. Doherty coming foul line to Perkins. Jumper, 20 feet. No good. Sam will follow his own shot. Puts it back out front to Kenny Smith. 10 minutes left to go in the ball game. 42-41, Carolina by 1. Kenny Smith now to Perkins along the right wing. Now to Brad Doherty. Smith going back door. Brad couldn't get him the ball. Comes to Matt Doherty with Craig Neal on him. Now to Jordan. Foul line. 17 feet. Front rim no good. Tapped high. Perkins trying to tap it to control it. Sally down with it for Georgia Tech. Jackets with a chance to retake the lead. 42-41 with 9:45 to play. Neal working right side. Bounce to Sally. Ball knocked away right into the hands of Neal. Neal recovers. Comes to Dalrymple now on the left. But whips it to Sally now. Top of the circle. Sally against Perkins. Puts it to the floor. Backdoor pass to Neal. Shovels it away to Harvey. Knocked away Jordan. Dalrymple had it, and Doherty knocked it away from him. Over the end line out of bounds. Bobby Crimmins thought there should have been a foul call there, but none coming. 42-41, 9:26 to play in the ball game. Georgia Tech will have the ball at the baseline underneath its goal at the north end of Carmichael Auditorium. Dalrymple will trigger the inbounds play. High lob out to Neal, top of the circle. Whipped it right back to Sally. Lost it. Perkins recovers. Waits for traffic to clear. Now we'll give it to Kenny Smith. Smith coming top of the circle. 5 turnovers in the second half for Tech. 12 for the game. Here's Perkins. Bounces to Jordan. Whistle. Foul is on Neal. Neal pushing against Jordan in an effort to get around him and front him. Picks up his first personal foul. That will be the 6th team foul against Georgia Tech. Carolina will get the ball out of bounds. 9:14 to play. Heels will have it underneath their own goal.
11:25 left to go in South Bend. Maryland now is trailing Notre Dame 35-32. Apparently the Fighting Irish playing much better than they did against Davidson on Wednesday night.
Perkins inside from Smith. Turns from 10 feet. Scores. Ball took a lot of time to get over the rim and in, but it's 44-41 Carolina. 9 minutes to play. Mark Price against Kenny Smith across the timeline on the right. Works to the hash mark. Goes to Neal. He'll drive the baseline. Brad Doherty was there. Whistle. Foul is on Brad Doherty. The foul on the Black Mountain, North Carolina sophomore should be his second. And it will be the 7th team foul. Now they're showing it as his third. So Brad Doherty has got 3 with 8:52 left to play in the ball game. And to the line for 1-and-1 goes Craig Neal, the freshman from Washington, Indiana.
That last bucket by Sam Perkins was his 6th field goal of the ball game. Sam 6 of 14 in the game. Michael Jordan is 4 of 12. Carolina for the ball game 19 of 45, 42%.
44-42, Carolina by 2. Neal will have a chance here to even the score, and his first one's good. He's got 9 points for the game. No, wait a minute, 44-43. Craig Neal made both of them. Shot taken, missed. Kenny Smith on the follow, no good. Tapped up and in by who? Either Jordan or Brad Doherty. Let's see who they give it to. Michael Jordan gets the bucket by the official score. 46-43, 8:25 to play. Carolina by 3. Anthony Byrd from Apex in the game now for Georgia Tech. He controls at the right wing. Comes to Harvey. Back to Price. Knocked away Doherty. Recovered Smith. Smith will take it down. Bounces it to Matt Doherty. Driving layup. Blocked. Jordan's there. Won't go. Brad Doherty. Top full of good. Carolina just dominated the offensive board there. And that's Brad Doherty's first field goal of the game after missing his first 4 shots. And right now, a timeout's been taken by Georgia Tech. I think it'll be Bobby Crimmins' second of the game. 8:02 to play. Time to the North-South doubleheader. You can forget it. Word has come to us from the ticket office that this very day, maybe this very hour, the last ticket has been purchased. We'll see you in Charlotte next Friday and Saturday.
I thought I saw a bunch of people get up after I read that commercial a minute ago. They went down to the ticket office. Carolina now 7 of 20, 35% in the second half, rather. Georgia Tech is 5 of 11, 45%. 6 turnovers for Tech, 3 for Carolina in the second half.
Oh, it's better than a telethon. Didn't you hear the phones ringing? I could hear the phones in the ticket office all the way up here. 48-43. Carolina by 5. 8:02 left to play in the ball game. Carolina is led by as many as 6 here in the second half. Georgia Tech by as many, I believe, as 3. Dean Smith directing now his team defensively on Georgia Tech's inbounds play. It'll be man-to-man Carolina on the inbounds plays. They're playing the deny defense, but Dalrymple succeeded on getting it into Petway. Petway now against Kenny Smith. Georgia Tech being pressured by Carolina full court to Sally. Now to Price. Price streaking into the lane. Feeds Dalrymple. Got by, laid it up. Good. Dalrymple for Georgia Tech. He has 10. 48-45. Boy, the Jackets will just not lay down and die. Smith. Top of the circle. Working now to the left side. Goes to Michael Jordan down the left sideline. Comes to Doherty now out front. Georgia Tech man-to-man. Matt Doherty goes to Sam Perkins. Petway fighting through. Got it to Jordan. Jordan reverse layup. It won't go, and the foul is called on Sally, I believe, and that will be 5. John Sally becomes the second Georgia Tech player to foul out of the ball game. He came in averaging 12.8 points a ball game, and he leaves with only 4. He was 2 of 4 from the field. 2 of 3 first half, missed his only shot in the second half. So he leaves with 4, and that's really hurt the Georgia Tech cause today because, for example, he and Yvonne Joseph were both averaging the same from the floor, 12.8. Joseph fouled out a little better than 4 minutes ago with 5. Now Sally leaves with 4. Now you expect about 25, 26 points out of those two guys, and you only get 9 out of them today.
Not to mention the fact that it's going to hurt Georgia Tech down the stretch with board strength, too. Joseph averaging over 8 rebounds a game, and Sally just under 7, Woody. So Georgia Tech now with a little bit of the disadvantage on the boards.
Jordan shooting the first of 2, makes it. He's got 13, and it's 49-45. Michael could stretch the Tar Heel lead back to 5, and does. Front rim and over the top. Craig Neal is back into the Tech lineup. So it'll be Mark Price, Scott Petway, Tim Harvey, Craig Neal, and Bruce Dalrymple. For Carolina, Kenny Smith, Matt Doherty, Sam Perkins, Brad Doherty, and Michael Jordan. Brad Doherty and Sam Perkins talking about their defensive positions, and Carolina's 1-3-1 as they back down court to set up. Price shoots over the zone, off the front of the rim, no good. Perkins has got the rebound. Petway tried to knock it away, but Perkins control. Now to Kenny Smith. Petway coming from behind, knocks it away and draws the foul. Petway, the red-haired junior from out of Chicago, Illinois, picks up his first. Of course, Carolina's in the bonus, and so Smith will go to the line to shoot 1-1. Kenny's hitting 82% on the year from the line. Here today from the field, he's been 3 of 6, and that includes missing his last 2 shots. Queens, New York freshman connects. You know, Kenny is not that unfamiliar with Bruce Dalrymple. They played together, and Ernie Myers of NC State did too, on the same AAU team up in New York for Riverside Church. 52-45, Carolina's biggest lead of the game now, 7 points. Dalrymple inbounds the ball to Petway. Petway caught in the double team, loops it cross court on the right to Price. Price will make tracks across the timeline to Neal. Neal on the drive, scoops it up, won't go. Rebounded by Perkins, gets it to Smith. Whistle, foul, offensive foul on Kenny Smith. He knocks Price flat of his back, and the foul on Smith is second, both in the second half. Player control foul, so Georgia Tech will get the ball out of bounds. No free throws in a player control situation. 4th turnover for the Tar Heels in the second half. And for the game for Carolina, that'll be 15. Mark Price to Neal with 6:50 to go. Dalrymple back to Neal on the right. Carolina back in the zone now. Neal top of the circle. To Price. Now they move it down the left sideline to Harvey. Back to Price to Dalrymple. Over on the right side it goes to Neal. Bounce pass to Price. Now back to Dalrymple. Jump shot over the Carolina zone is good by Dalrymple. Dalrymple with 12. He and Price have contributed 24 out of the Georgia Tech backcourt. Smith caught in the double team. gets around it, gets across the timeline. They try to triple team him. He beats Jordan. Jordan in the lane, hooked it up, looking up, falling away from the basket. It wouldn't go. And the foul, I think, has been called on either Dalrymple or Harvey. Beautiful. It's going to be on Harvey, Henry.
Beautiful piece of ball handling coming down the court for Kenny Smith. He got across half court. He was being forced to the outside, Woody, and then he kind of did a behind-the-back dribble and moved back to the inside. He got a nice dish off to Michael Jordan. I wonder if Phil Ford was watching.
When he came off the right wing, he was triple team and fighting his way through the triple team with his dribble still alive as Jordan, you can tell by the roar of the crowd, has made his first. He's got 15, 53-47. Heels going for 16 in a row, 7 in the ACC. Next one is good. 54-47. Carolina matching its biggest lead of the half and the game. Georgia Tech now coming front court, moving to the north goal. Dalrymple in the midcourt area to Price. Price will work across the midcourt area, down inside the hash mark on the right. He'll drive all the way, went through, bounced it through Jordan's legs to Neal. Neal will come off the left sideline, gets it to Petway, jumper over Matt Doherty, good. Scott Petway. 54-49. Georgia Tech with pressure backcourt. Pass to Jordan. Whistle and a blocking foul called on Dalrymple. Dalrymple picks up his second. Jordan not the man right now that the Jackets want to foul because Michael sort of got his motion at the line. He's on the year is shooting 78%. Carolina as a team also shooting 78%. Jordan today is 6 of 7. He missed his first. He's knocked in his last 6. 1-1. You hear the voice of the officials. That's Mark Moser. His dad Lou, also an official in the league. Crowd grows quiet. Jordan's free throw. Good. 55-49. Carolina by 6. Jordan could stretch the lead back to 7. You hear the bounce of the ball. Let's see if you can hear the net if it goes in. No, but you heard it hit the rim. 56-49. Long pass against the transition. Knocked away Matt Doherty, and he draws the foul. Intended from Dalrymple to Petway behind the Carolina defense. Doherty got back, but he drew the foul in the process. His third, and to the line will go Scott Petway. Petway is a 6'6 junior out of Chicago, Illinois. Bobby Crimmins says he's like a coach on the floor coming out of Pensacola, Florida Junior College. Henry's got his red hair slicked back, says he wears it 1950 style like Elvis did. He's a big Elvis fan and said when Jerry Lee Lewis used to bang on that piano with great balls of fire, Scott said, man, that drive me wow. Makes his free throw, 56-50.
Not a bad basketball player either. Very good player has come through for Bobby Crimmins in the clutch a lot this year, Woody.
He was the guy who made the jump shot out of the corner to beat Wake Forest when Georgia Tech was serving notice on the league that it had arrived. Next free throw is good as well. 56-51. Carolina lead is 5. 5:50 to play in the ball game. Smith a reverse dribble across the timeline. Now to Doherty at the left wing. Back to Smith. Kenny penetrating. Whips it to Sam Perkins, but Sam doesn't try to go through. He comes instead back to the right sideline. He's fouled. Bounced it out of bounds off Petway. Petway and Harvey wanted to get Sam for the travel. And I believe Georgia Tech's going to exhaust its last timeout. Timeout's been called. Assistant coach Jimmy Hebron just told Bobby Crimmins, hey, coach, that's our third and last in this regionally televised game. Bobby said, heck with that, I need to talk to these guys.
Nashville, the best price anywhere on new Toyotas.
56-51, Carolina by 5 with 5:38 to play. And don't forget, we're at the same spot on your dial tomorrow at 12:35 when the 10th-ranked Tigers of LSU, coming off that narrow loss at Auburn last night, will be at Chapel Hill.
Well, just to take a look at what's happened since Von Joseph and Sally have fouled out. Joseph fouled out the 11:42 mark. Georgia Tech was only down by 2, 41-39 at the time. When Sally fouled out, Carolina was up by 4 points, 49-45, and now Carolina with a 5-point lead with 5:38 remaining in the game.
Carolina controlling the basketball. Brad Doherty along the right wing. Gets it out of Matt Doherty. Doherty high against Neal. Now to Jordan. Dalrymple on him. Comes to Perkins with Petway. Sam, of course, with that height advantage. Now to Smith. To Jordan. In the lane. Ball knocked away. Loose. Dalrymple recovers. Keeps his dribble alive. Went to one knee. Now will come front court to Neal on a high pass. Neal at the hash mark on the right. The ball boys get out quickly and towel up the area where the players went down in the lane. Now goes high post to Harvey, drops to Price. Price on the drive, over the top of Brad Doherty. Great running one-hander by Mark Price for his 14th point, 56-53. Dean Smith wants the Tar Heel #1 offense now. That's the 1-4 against Georgia Tech's man-to-man defense. 4:51 left to play. Still awfully tight. Kenny Smith inside to Perkins. Back to Kenny Smith. Kenny faking Price. Will take the jumper. 15 feet. Good. 10 for Kenny. 58-53. 4:40 left to play. Mark Price against Kenny Smith. Working now to the right. Goes to the hash mark. Now down the right sideline. Still keeping the dribble alive. Bounce pass back to Petway. Top of the circle. Carolina man-to-man. Here's Petway. Knocked away. Perkins. Off Jordan's knee. He recovers. He fakes Neal, and Neal knocks it away, and it'll be Carolina's ball. Boy, the crowd anticipated a thunderous slam, and I think Jordan was going to respond, but Neal had good hands.
This will be Carolina's first possession since the shot clock just went off, Woody. So Carolina, we'll see if Dean Smith has decided if he wants to run a little time off right now.
Smith out to Doherty. Almost threw it by. Matt made a nice catch of the ball. 58-53. Against Neal. Drops it off to Jordan. 4 corners now for Carolina. Working against Georgia Tech's man-to-man. Here's Jordan to Brad Doherty deep in the left corner. Coming to the foul line, gives it to Perkins. Sam will go, and we get Petway holding him. 2 shots, intentional foul. Perkins had gotten by him, and Petway could do nothing but reach out and grab Sam's hand. He was not going for the ball, and Mike Mosier has called an intentional foul. 2 shots. Shot clock is off, the 45-second clock. 3:59 to go.
Bobby Cremins upset with Mark Moser a little bit. Showed his displeasure when Moser held up his 2 fingers to indicate an intentional foul, and Cremins turned and went to look back at his assistant coaches like, can you believe that?
Jack Mansell, a 6'7" sophomore from Sharon, Pennsylvania, who was 20 years old just 6 days ago, has come into the lineup now replacing Petway, but that was only Petway's second. Perkins' first free throw of the day is good. Sam coming into the ball game today, 6th career score for Carolina, 1,864 points. Larry Miller, 119 points ahead of him starting today. Here's the next free throw. It's good. Sam's also Carolina's second all-time leading rebounder. This will be his 7th game this year in double figures scoring and rebounding, and 5 of his last 6. 60-53. Dalrymple makes it 60-55 with his 14th point. 3:45 left to play. Doherty caught the double team, and Price draws the personal foul. That'll only be personal #1 on the Enid, Oklahoma sophomore. You talk about talent to come out of Oklahoma. Mark Price, Steve Hale, and Wayman Tisdale were the Tri-Players of the Year in Oklahoma 2 years ago. You think all 3 of those guys aren't good? I talked to Steve one day, and I said, Steve, how you feel about Mark? Every time you read about Georgia Tech, you read about Mark. Every time you read about Oklahoma, you read about Wayman. He says, listen, those are great guys. They're good for college basketball as Matt Doherty makes his first. And listen, it doesn't bother me at all. And I'll tell you, what a job Steve Hale does for the Heels. 61-55.
Maryland and Notre Dame in a pretty good game in South Bend with 3:25 left in that ball game. Maryland leads 42-41. Woody, good ball game up there.
62-55. Doherty made them both. 3:44 to play. Matt now with 8 points in the ball game. Neal down the left sideline for Tech. Gives it up to Dalrymple. Out comes to Neal. Neal working left side to Dalrymple. Dalrymple will drive. Fakes Jordan. Jordan swats it. Oh, they call the foul. Joe Forte called a blocking foul. Looked for a moment as if Michael had cleanly picked his pocket and was going the other way. 62-55. 2 shots coming. Dalrymple on the shot. That'll be Jordan's second personal foul. Bobby Cremins constantly off the Georgia Tech bench. Good thing Bobby doesn't pay for his seat. He never uses it. Stays up, but he is one of the great young coaches at 36 years of age in the country. And boy, is he constantly talking with his team, telling them what he wants them to do. Henry told you before the ballgame, hey, well, listen, we're still not a great team, but if we can do it, we'll accept it. Dalrymple makes good on his first free throw of the game, 15 points. He's now made 15 straight free throws, 62-56. Make it 16. 62-57. 3.5 minutes left to play, and it's only a 5-point Carolina lead. Here's Smith against Price. Smith working to the right side. Caught in the double team. Gets it up to Jordan. Carolina goes back to 4 corners. It'll be Jordan working now against Apex's Anthony Bird. To Kenny Smith. Now to Matt Doherty. Bobby Cremins telling his squad to think. Use your head now. We've worked on this. You know what to do. Look away! Jordan to Perkins. Wouldn't go. Forced it up. It shot past the basket on the right side, but Brad Doherty had the rebound. To Kenny Smith. Smith penetrating. Dumps it to Sam Perkins for the dunk. Oh! No doubt about that one. 16 for Sam, 64-57. It was almost as if Sam was saying, hey, guys, you can count on this one. Watch it. Here's Harvey faking Perkins. 5 for the layup. Missed it. Neal on the tap follow. We get a whistle, and there's a foul called on Georgia Tech. I believe it's going to be on Tim Harvey. It is, and Harvey will have his 4th. 2 Georgia Tech players, Yvonne Joseph and John Sally, have already fouled out. I believe the bucket by Neal will count, or was it disallowed? Bob Woodruff, our statistician, says it was disallowed. So the score remains 64-57, and Brad Daugherty will be at the line. Somebody fell on Brad's ankle. The shot was missed, but the tap followed by Neal, I believe, went in. Brad Daugherty misses the free throw. Rebounded by Georgia Tech. Dalrymple off to Neal. Neal going the other way, driving all the way through the lane and scores. Craig Neal for Georgia Tech. He's got 12 at 64-59. Still 2.5 minutes left to play. Pass to Jordan. Got away. Caught by Kenny Smith on the other side. Kenny Smith, Johnny on the spot for the Tar Heels. Smith in the middle now. Double team. Loops it behind his head to Daugherty, but we get a whistle, and the foul is on Mark Price of Georgia Tech. It'll be a second. Kenny Smith to the line. 64-59, a 5-point lead. Smith has made 2 of 2 already in this half. He's got 10 points for the ball game. Just a little bit better than his 9.7 average. Kenny Smith ready. Free throw is up. Good. 11 points. Carolina, Bob Woodruff says, missed its 5th free throw try today, but then made 14 in a row before Brad Daugherty missed a moment ago, and now Kenny Smith's got him on a new streak of 2 in a row. 66-59, Carolina by 7. Again, the Heels match their biggest lead of the game. Neal to Price. My goodness, from 30 feet, but it nicked the rim. Price follows his own shot. Won't go. Matt Daugherty tapped it, controlled by Smith. Over to Jordan on the left. Jordan will pull up and not go through with Craig Neal there. Coming back to set it up. Now he comes off the left sideline. Look away over to Perkins on the right. Sam makes no move to the basket with 1:50 to go to Matt Daugherty. He's the chaser now in the 4 corners. Neal following. Brad Daugherty tried to dunk it. Harvey fouls him. And it'll be number 5 on the Plainfield, New Jersey sophomore. Jack Mansell will have to go back. 3 Georgia Tech players have fouled out of the game. Yvonne Joseph at 11:42. John Sally at 7:28. And now Tim Harvey at 1:45. No points for Harvey. By the way, for Sally today, that was the 2nd time he fouled out. It's the 1st time Tim Harvey's been disqualified in the game. Brad Daugherty at the free throw line. Misses it. He'll have another one coming. Brad shoots 71% at the line. Checks his motion a little bit. A little flick of the right wrist, and he'll toe the stripe again. He made 2 in the first half. He's got 4 points on the day. Here's his next free throw, and it's good. 67-59. It's an 8-point Carolina lead. Biggest of the afternoon. These 2 teams play again in late February. That game will be in the Omni in Atlanta. The only time Georgia Tech will play a home game outside the confines of Alexander Coliseum this year. Neal's long jumper rims out. Brad Daugherty rebound. Outlet to Jordan on the left side. Jordan will pull up. Now he's going to drive on Neal. Two-handed dunk. Manziel at the other end. I just want it intercepted by Bird. Bird from 10 feet good. 69-61. There for a moment I was just letting you listen to the response to a Michael Jordan signature. Perkins to Smith. 3-on-1. Look away. Brad Daugherty gave it back to Smith. Oh, he saved it. Falling out of bounds to Jordan. 50 seconds remain. 69-61. Perkins down the left sideline to Brad Daugherty. He's fouled by Dalrymple, and Dalrymple wants to make sure Brad knows there was nothing out of the ordinary, and he very quickly patted him after making the foul. For Dalrymple Henry, that's going to be 3. It's an intentional foul. 2 shots coming for the Black Mountain, North Carolina sophomore.
You know, the interesting thing about that Michael Jordan dunk out of the 4 corners just a minute ago, he lulled everybody to sleep on the court. I think even half the fans believed he was going to go back outside with it. He kind of was looking outside, then he pulled up, did a little stutter step. Brad Daugherty misses another free throw, Woody. And then he just headed to the basket, and there was nobody in this gym going to stop him. He went in there with a 2-handed stuffer. Beautiful move, and just really accents Michael Jordan's tremendous talent.
69-61, make it 69-62. 6 points now for Doherty. We'll be going to the dressing room right after the game to get the comments of head coach Dean Smith and talk with a Tar Heel player or two. Anthony Bird firing from out on the left. No good. Tapped outside. Recovered Matt Doherty. Heels coming on the run with 35 seconds left to Kenny Smith. Back to Jordan. And we get a whistle and a foul. Stopping play. Jordan wanted to dish it off. And I believe Michael took a shot in the mouth then, but he's okay. 2 shots coming for Jordan on the foul by Anthony Bird. Anthony still has a lot of brothers and cousins involved in the athletic program over at nearby Apex High School. The school and the community very proud of what Bird has done at Georgia Tech. His grandmother died not too long ago, and Anthony had to come home for the funeral, and he missed some playing time. That took him a long while to work his way back into the Tech system. And for a while he got so frustrated he thought about giving up on it, but he stayed with it. Jordan has just missed his first free throw after hitting 8 in a row. He'll have another one coming. 70-61 with 31 seconds left. Made the next one. Jordan now with 21 points on the day. Came in averaging 16.3. Tar Heels will go 7-0 in the league, 16-0 overall. Dalrymple coming in on the right. Off the glass, no good. Recovered Smith. He went up behind 2 Tech players and pulled it away. 4-on-1 break. Matt Doherty, short jumper, good. Doherty with 10, 73-61. We're down to 10 seconds to play. To Dalrymple from Neal. Dalrymple, foul line, intercepted Perkins, 3, 2, 1. There will go the horn. Doherty doesn't get it off in time. It's off the top of the glass, no good. But the Tar Heels had a real struggle with Georgia Tech. What an effort by Bobby Crimmins and company. They came right in and stuck very closely with the Tar Heels for most of the afternoon. Carolina pulling away at the very end to win by 12.
New Isodets DM for 4-hour cough relief. Isodets DM contains the world's best-known cough suppressant. Isodets lozenges and Isodets DM. Distributed by Goodies Manufacturing, Winston-Salem. Right here in Tar Heel country.
Henry Head with Woody Durham back live in Chapel Hill at Carmichael Auditorium and make it now 16 in a row for the Tar Heels. The Tar Heels win over Georgia Tech today, 73-61, and the Tar Heels are 7-0 in the conference. Georgia Tech falls to 14-3, 4-2, nothing to be ashamed of for Bobby Crimmins' team, no question about that. Now, there has been an upset in South Bend, Indiana. Notre Dame has upset the University of Maryland.